The atmospheric processors of Tau Ceti Prime hummed with their perpetual rhythm as Marcus Chen stepped off the transport shuttle, his briefcase clutched against his chest. The colony world smelled of ozone and something organic he couldn't quite place, something that reminded him of wet fur and testosterone. He adjusted his glasses and consulted his datapad. The Lycaon Corporation's quarterly audit wouldn't complete itself. The Lycaon were humanity's first intelligent extraterrestrial contact, discovered 70 years prior on this very world. Bipedal, lupine in appearance, and possessed of a rigid hierarchical social structure that humanity's xenoanthropologists had spent decades trying to understand. What they had learned was simple. Strength determined everything. Physical strength, mental strength, dominance. Marcus knew none of this mattered to him. He was here to verify expenditure reports and ensure compliance with interstellar commerce regulations. Numbers didn't care about hierarchies. The corporation's headquarters rose from the red soil like a metallic fang. Inside, the air conditioning fought a losing battle against the ambient heat the Lycaon preferred. Marcus felt sweat forming on his collar within minutes. A receptionist, human, thankfully, directed him to the executive level. That was where he met Kethros. The Pack Alpha stood nearly 7 feet tall, his gray-black fur immaculately groomed, his amber eyes sharp enough to cut through titanium plating. He wore the Lycaon equivalent of a business suit, a ceremonial harness that displayed his rank markings and left his muscled arms bare. Every employee they passed in the corridor, Lycaon and human alike, lowered their eyes in his presence. "The auditor," Kethros said, his voice a rumbling bass that Marcus felt in his sternum. It wasn't a question. "Marcus Chen, Interstellar Revenue Service," Marcus replied, extending his hand. It was a human gesture, and he half expected it to be ignored. Kethros stared at the offered hand for 3 long seconds. Then he grasped it. His grip could have crushed metacarpal bones to powder, but he merely squeezed. A test, Marcus realized. He'd read about this. Every interaction with a Lycaon Alpha was a dominance display. Marcus didn't squeeze back. He simply held firm, meeting Kethros's gaze through his smudged glasses, and waited. Something flickered in those amber eyes. Confusion, perhaps, or interest. "Your office is this way," Kethros said, releasing his hand. The audit began routinely enough. Marcus set up his portable terminal in a spare office and began reviewing files. The Lycaon Corporation dealt in rare earth extraction, and their profit margins were suspiciously high. Within 2 hours, Marcus had found the first discrepancy. Within 4, he'd uncovered a pattern. He requested a meeting with Kethros. The Alpha's office occupied the entire top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the mining operations. Kethros sat behind a desk made from a single slab of native stone, reviewing holographic reports with swift gestures of his clawed hands. "You've found something," Kethros stated. "Several things," Marcus said, setting his datapad on the desk. "You've been underreporting extraction volumes by approximately 15%. The phantom tonnage correlates with private shipments to the Lycaon homeworld. That's tax evasion and violation of export restrictions." Kethros's ears flattened against his skull, a sign of aggression Marcus's research had taught him. The Alpha rose from his chair, towering over the desk. "You dare accuse me of theft?" "I'm stating facts," Marcus said calmly. "The numbers don't lie. You've diverted approximately 40 million credits worth of processed minerals over 3 fiscal years. And what do you intend to do with this information, little human?" Kethros circled the desk, moving with predatory grace. "Do you understand how things work here? I am Pack Alpha. My word is law. My strength is absolute. I have tested every male in this corporation, Lycaon and human, and all have submitted." Marcus stood his ground, though his heart hammered against his ribs. I don't need to submit to you. I need you to submit your corrected tax documentation by the end of the fiscal quarter, or this entire operation gets shut down and you face criminal charges. Kethros stopped mid-stride. His nostrils flared as he scented the air. You're afraid, he observed. Your body betrays you. And yet you don't run. You don't lower your eyes. Explain this. Being afraid doesn't change the math, Marcus said. You owe the Interstellar Revenue Service 68 million credits in back taxes, plus penalties and interest. That's not a dominance challenge. That's accounting. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then, impossibly, Kethros threw back his head and laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling down a mountain. Accounting, he repeated. You stand before me, barely reaching my chest, armed with nothing but numbers, and you believe this gives you power over me? Yes, Marcus said simply. Because tomorrow morning, a coalition patrol ship arrives for a routine inspection. I've already transmitted a preliminary report. If they find discrepancies between your books and my findings, they'll impound your entire fleet. Your pack will lose everything. Not because you're not strong enough, but because you didn't file the correct paperwork. Kethros's ears pricked forward. You bluff. Marcus tapped his datapad, and a holographic confirmation code materialized in the air between them, an official coalition seal with that morning's timestamp. The Alpha's posture shifted. His shoulders lowered fractionally. His tail, which had been held rigid, relaxed slightly. What do you want? Your compliance, Marcus said. File amended returns. Pay what you owe. Follow the regulations. That's all. And if I refuse? Then you submit to coalition law enforcement instead of to me. Your choice. Kethros moved to the window, gazing out at his mining operations, his empire. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its edge. The pack elders will not understand this. How can I tell them I was defeated by a human with a calculator? You weren't defeated, Marcus said, adjusting his glasses. You were audited. There's a difference. Is there? Kethros turned back, and something in his expression had changed. Respect, perhaps, or the beginning of it. You possess a strength I have never encountered. Not of muscle, not of fang, but strength nonetheless. It's just math, Marcus said. No. Kethros approached slowly, without threat this time. It is certainty. You knew I could kill you. You knew I could have you removed. And yet you stood firm because you knew, with absolute certainty, that you were correct. That is a strength my kind rarely encounters. He extended his hand, mimicking the human gesture from earlier. The Lycaon Corporation will submit its amended returns within 48 hours. You have my word as Pack Alpha. Marcus shook his hand. That's all I need. As Marcus gathered his things to leave, Kethros spoke once more. Chen, the pack respects strength in all its forms. You will always be welcome in this territory. Marcus nodded and walked to the door. He paused at the threshold. For what it's worth, you should know. The penalty for first-time filing errors is waived if you submit corrected returns voluntarily. You'll only owe the back taxes, no interest. Kethros's ears perked up. You knew this from the beginning? Yes, Marcus said, but you needed to submit, not to me, to the system. He left the Alpha standing in his office, staring after the human accountant who had done what no challenger had ever accomplished. Not through force, but through the irrefutable power of compound interest and generally accepted accounting principles. The transport shuttle lifted off at dawn, carrying Marcus Chen back to civilization. Behind him, the Lycaon Corporation began the humbling process of submitting to the one force in the universe that even Pack Alphas couldn't dominate: the tax code.